Japan imposed export restrictions on semiconductor materials to Korea 3 years ago. It was the Japanese government's retaliation for a Korean court ruling ordering compensation for Korean victims of forced-time war labor. Korean firms managed to alleviate some of the struggle by reducing their dependence on Japanese suppliers, but there's still some way to go.
3 years ago, the Japanese government imposed restrictions on semiconductor materials exported to Korea.
旧朝鮮半島出身労働者については G20 までに満足する解決策が示されなかったことから今回の制度運用の見直し。
It was Japan's retaliation for a Korean court's ruling that ordered compensation for the Korean victims of forced wartime labor. The Korean government filed a suit against Japan with the World Trade Organization. Korean firms worked on becoming self-sufficient in materials, components and equipment with high dependency on Japan. The import amount of Japanese hydrogen fluoride over the past 3 years, up until May, fell to less than 1/5 of the amount immediately before the export restriction. The dependence on Japan for EUV photoresist, a key material for chips, fell from more than 90% before the restriction to lower than 50%. Korea's independence in materials, parts and equipment has been achieved to a degree. But Japan hasn't lifted any of the restrictions. Meanwhile, a Japanese business delegation visiting Korea met with President Yoon Suk-yeol. He said the two countries should combine their strengths and wisdom to forge a future-oriented partnership. Earlier, business leaders of Korea and Japan met for the first time in 3 years and adopted a joint declaration that vowed to inherit the spirit of a 1998 Kim Dae-jung and Kaizo Obuchi declaration aimed at improving bilateral relations.
한일 정상회담이 조속히 열려 상호 수출 규제의 폐지, 한일 통화 수합 계약 체계, 두 나라 경제 현안이 한꺼번에 해결되기를 기대합니다.
The two countries appear to be ready to engage in more exchanges, judging from the recent reopening of the Kimpo-Haneda air route. But some Koreans are calling for Japan's sincere apology first.